Did you know that more than 40% of elderly people who suffer a heart attack are completely alone during the event? Even more frightening is that most people don't know what to do in those critical first minutes. If you are over 60 and live alone, this video could be the most important video you ever watch, because one day it could save your life. In this video, I share the true story of 68-year-old Martha, who survived a severe heart attack while completely alone at home, and the 7 life-saving steps that doctors say gave her a chance to survive. Watch until the end, because the last step is something almost no one knows, but it could mean the difference between surviving and becoming a tragic statistic. Let's get started. Step 1. Recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Martha's story begins on an ordinary Tuesday morning in March. She was 68 years old and had been living alone since her husband passed away 3 years earlier. Around 10:30 a.m., she began to feel a strange pressure in the center of her chest. It wasn't a sharp pain. It was more like someone was sitting on her chest, a heavy, uncomfortable tightness that wouldn't go away. Then, other symptoms appeared that he barely noticed. His left arm began to feel heavy and tingly. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He suddenly felt nauseous. And strangest of all, he felt a sense of impending doom, a deep fear that something was very wrong. But she didn't know what to do. This situation was the first thing that came to her mind, but then she realized it wasn't a simple thing. She thought about what to do and spoke to her own self in her mind. Marta, first of all, stay calm and think about what you can do, because if you panic, you could lose all control. After thinking this, she calmed down and looked into the corners of her mind for what precautions she could take. This action became the first important lesson that saved Martha's life. She realized that although these symptoms did not match the signs she thought indicated a heart attack, they were serious warning signs. Doctors say that women, especially older women, experience heart attacks differently than men. Women often experience milder symptoms instead of crushing chest pain, jaw pain, back pain, extreme fatigue, shortness of breath, nausea, and an unexplained sense of dread. Martha had heard a doctor talk about this topic on television months ago. She remembered the doctor saying, "If you feel that something is wrong, really wrong, don't wait. Your body is telling you something." This memory prevented her from ignoring her symptoms. She could have fainted within minutes. She could have died within an hour. But instead, she decided to take herself seriously. Perhaps this decision was the most important one she had ever made in her life. Many older adults, especially those who pride themselves on their independence, refrain from calling for help. They convince themselves that it's not a big deal, that they're overreacting, that they don't want to bother anyone. But Martha ignored that voice. She heeded her body's warning, and that decision set everything in motion. Keep these warnings in mind, because they are very important for older individuals. If you are over 60, memorize these heart attack warning signs: pressure or discomfort in the chest, pain spreading to your arm, jaw, back, or neck, shortness of breath, cold sweats, nausea, dizziness, and a feeling that something terrible is happening. Trust these signs and never ignore them, because your life really depends on it. Don't think, "I'll be more careful next time," because there may not be a next time. Step 2. Call emergency services. Immediately. Don't wait. Don't drive. As soon as Martha realized the situation was serious, she did the second most important thing. She called 911 immediately. She didn't wait to see if the symptoms would go away. She didn't call her daughter first. She didn't try to drive herself to the hospital. She picked up the phone with trembling hands and called emergency services. She knew how vital this action was. At this point, many elderly people make a fatal mistake. According to statistics, the average person waits 3 hours to call for help when they have a heart attack. 3 hours. And with every minute that passes, more heart muscle dies. Doctors say, time is muscle. The sooner treatment begins, the more of the heart can be saved. You must remember this too. Any one of us could have a heart attack. By the time the operator answered the phone, Martha's condition had worsened. Her chest pain was intensifying, and it was becoming difficult for her to breathe. But she managed to say the most important words. I think I'm having a heart attack. I'm alone. I need help. The operator immediately sent an ambulance and even stayed on the line to tell her what to do. At this stage, the operator on the phone was telling her everything she needed to do. Here's what emergency responders want you to know. Never try to drive yourself to the hospital if you're having a heart attack. Your condition can deteriorate within seconds. You could lose consciousness while driving and cause an accident that kills yourself or others. And even if you make it to the hospital, you will arrive without the critical pre-treatment provided by ambulance personnel in the ambulance. Not receiving pre-treatment can have very painful consequences, even if you make it to the hospital. And at that point, there is not much you can do. Even if you wanted to, you cannot go back and change anything. Martha's neighbor Frank, on the other hand, made the opposite choice. Poor old Frank. When he felt chest pain at 71, he decided to drive himself to the emergency room because he didn't want to cause a fuss. He lost consciousness on the way, crashed into a tree, and died before anyone could find him. His death could have been prevented, and he really could have done it himself. The psychological barrier here is pride and fear of embarrassment. What if it's nothing? But emergency responders will tell you they would rather respond to hundreds of false alarms than be too late to save a life. Calling 911 is not a sign of weakness. It is the smartest and strongest thing you can do when your life is in danger. Because in this situation, what you are trying to protect is your own life. It is not a simple thing. Value yourself as much as possible in this regard. And be careful. Do not make an irreversible choice. Step 3. Open your door and position yourself so the rescue team can find you. While Martha was on the phone with the operator, she received instructions that seemed simple but were very important. If you can safely do so, open your front door, then lie down near the entrance so the paramedics can find you quickly. Martha hadn't thought of this, but it made perfect sense. If she passed out before the ambulance arrived, the paramedics would have to break down her door, wasting precious seconds. And if she passed out somewhere inside the house, they might not find her right away. She understood very well that the most important thing in this situation was the initial treatment she would receive. It seemed simple, but it was a crucial first step, because once the paramedics' job was made easier, they could start the process quickly. While the operator was still talking to her, Martha slowly walked to her front door, unlocked it, and then carefully crouched down in the entryway. Her chest was burning, her breathing was shallow, and she was very scared. But she tried to stay as calm as possible by focusing on the operator's voice. Because the less stress she felt in this situation, the less likely she would have sudden attacks. Doctors say this step is one that almost no one thinks about, but it is a very important step. If you live alone and experience a medical emergency, first responders need to be able to reach you quickly. An unlocked door and a visible location could save your life. Some experts even recommend keeping a spare key in a locked box outside your home and sharing the code with a trusted neighbor. There's also a medical reason for lying down. When you're standing during a heart attack, your heart has to work harder to pump blood throughout your body. Lying flat helps your heart work more efficiently and can prevent you from fainting and hitting your head, which could cause additional life-threatening injuries. Martha later told doctors that those minutes on the floor, waiting for the ambulance, were the longest of her life. She kept thinking about her grandchildren, about all the things she still wanted to do. But she didn't give up. She kept breathing, kept talking to the operator, kept fighting. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment Step 3 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Step 4. Chew aspirin if you have it. While Martha was lying on the floor, the operator asked her a critical question. Do you have aspirin in your home? Are you allergic to it? Martha said yes. She had a bottle in her kitchen cabinet, and no, she wasn't allergic. The operator instructed her to chew, not swallow, one full-strength aspirin tablet immediately. This step is something many people don't know about, but it's recommended by cardiologists worldwide. Aspirin is a blood thinner, and during a heart attack, a blood clot is usually blocking one of the arteries supplying blood to your heart. Chewing aspirin helps break up that clot faster and can reduce the damage to your heart muscle. The key is to chew the aspirin, not swallow it whole. Chewing allows the medication to enter your bloodstream through the tissues in your mouth much faster than if it had to dissolve in your stomach. Martha crawled slowly to her kitchen, grabbed the aspirin bottle, and chewed one tablet as instructed. It tasted bitter and chalky, but she didn't care. Doctors emphasize that this step should only be done if you're certain you're not allergic to aspirin and you don't have bleeding disorders or recent surgeries that would make blood thinning dangerous. And you should never take aspirin unless you're sure you're having a heart attack or you've been instructed by emergency services. But in Martha's case, it was the right call. Later, her cardiologist told her that the aspirin she took in those first minutes likely limited the damage to her heart and improved her chances of full recovery. It was such a simple action, but it had enormous consequences. Step 5. Stay calm and focus on your breathing. After taking the aspirin and lying back down by the door, Martha focused on the next instruction. Stay as calm as possible and concentrate on slow, steady breathing. This might sound impossible when you're terrified and in pain, but it's medically critical. When you panic, your body releases stress hormones that make your heart beat faster and your blood pressure spike. During a heart attack, your heart is already struggling. Adding panic forces it to work even harder, which can worsen the damage and increase the risk of cardiac arrest. Martha had practiced meditation and deep breathing for years. She'd never imagined those skills would save her life, but in that moment, they did. She closed her eyes, focused on the operator's voice, and took slow, deliberate breaths, in through her nose, out through her mouth. She counted each breath, giving her mind something to focus on other than the pain and fear. Psychologically, this is about shifting from panic mode to survival mode. When you give yourself a task, even something as simple as counting breaths, you activate the rational part of your brain and quiet the fear response. It doesn't make the terror go away, but it keeps you from spiraling into full panic. The operator stayed with Martha the entire time, reassuring her that the ambulance was close, that she was doing everything right, that help was almost there. That human connection gave Martha something to hold on to when she felt like she was slipping away. Step 6. Keep your phone close and stay connected. One of the smartest things Martha did was keep her cordless phone in her hand the entire time. Even after she'd unlocked the door and taken the aspirin, she didn't hang up. She kept the operator on the line, kept communicating, kept letting someone know she was still conscious. This step is crucial because your condition can change rapidly during a heart attack. You might feel okay one moment and then suddenly lose consciousness. If you're still connected to emergency services, the operator knows immediately if you stop responding and can relay that information to the paramedics. Martha's phone battery was thankfully charged, but this is a lesson for all seniors living alone. Keep your phone charged and within reach at all times. Consider getting a medical alert system, a wearable device with a button you can press to call for help, even if you can't reach your phone. There have been too many tragic cases of seniors who had a heart attack or bad fall and couldn't reach their phone. They were found hours or even days later, and by then, it was too late. Martha's daughter later bought her a medical alert bracelet, something Martha initially resisted, but after her experience, she wears it every single day. The lesson here is about preparation and acceptance. Acknowledging that you might need help someday isn't giving up your independence. It's protecting it. The best way to stay independent is to stay alive and healthy. And that means planning for emergencies before they happen. Step 7. Know your medical information and keep it accessible. When the paramedics finally arrived at Martha's house, just 8 minutes after her call, they burst through the unlocked door and found her lying exactly where she'd said she'd be. They immediately began assessing her condition, starting an IV, giving her medications, and preparing to transport her. And then they asked the questions that Martha was ready to answer. What medications are you taking? Do you have any allergies? Do you have a history of heart problems? Martha, despite her pain and fear, was able to tell them everything. She kept a handwritten list of her medications, doses, and medical conditions in her purse. She'd updated it just 2 weeks earlier during a routine doctor visit. This final step is something every senior must do. Create a comprehensive medical information sheet and keep it somewhere accessible. Include your full name, date of birth, emergency contacts, current medications with dosages, known allergies, chronic conditions, past surgeries, and your primary doctor's contact information. Paramedics are trained to look for this information, and having it ready can speed up your treatment and prevent dangerous mistakes. Martha's preparation saved precious time. The paramedics knew exactly what they could and couldn't give her, what her baseline health looked like, and who to call once she was stabilized. By the time they loaded her into the ambulance, they'd already contacted the hospital's cardiac unit. Martha was going straight to the catheterization lab for an emergency procedure. Doctors later told Martha that she did everything right. Her chances of survival and full recovery were dramatically higher because of the 7 steps she took: recognizing the warning signs, calling 911 immediately, unlocking her door and positioning herself for rescuers, taking aspirin, staying calm, and breathing steadily, keeping connected to emergency services, and having her medical information ready. Each step built on the last, creating a chain of survival that brought her through one of the most dangerous moments of her life. Final thoughts. Martha spent 5 days in the hospital. She had a stent placed in her blocked artery, started cardiac rehabilitation, and made significant changes to her diet and exercise. Today, at 71, she's healthier than she's been in years. She volunteers at the local senior center, teaching other older adults about heart attack warning signs and emergency preparedness. As we wrap up today's video, I want you to think about this. Are you prepared for a medical emergency? Do you know the warning signs of a heart attack? Is your door easy to access? Do you have aspirin in your home? Is your phone always charged? Do you have your medical information written down? These aren't just questions. They're the difference between life and death. If you're over 60, take time today to prepare. Write down your medical information. Talk to your family about emergency plans. Consider getting a medical alert device. Keep aspirin on hand if your doctor approves. And most importantly, promise yourself that if something ever feels wrong, really wrong, you'll call for help immediately without hesitation. You have the power to save your own life, just like Martha did. But that power comes from knowledge, preparation, and the willingness to act when it matters most. Don't wait until it's too late. Every single day, thousands of seniors have heart attacks. The ones who survive are the ones who knew what to do. Thank you for joining us today. Leave a comment below, sharing one thing you learned from Martha's story and one action you'll take today to prepare for an emergency. If you found this video potentially life-saving, please like, subscribe, and share it with every senior you know. Hit that notification bell so you never miss critical health information. Remember, growing older doesn't mean becoming helpless. It means becoming wiser, more prepared, and more resilient. Martha's story proves that with the right knowledge and the courage to act, you can survive even the most frightening moments and come out stronger. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay prepared, and stay strong. Your life is precious, and you're worth fighting for.